Hi, my name is Fotini Simistira Leviki, and today we are going to speak about the motivation behind deep learning. As you can see in the pictures, the machines are coming. And what does it mean? It means that with the impact of the deep learning, we managed to decrease the error rate from 80% to almost 7% in the beginning of 2015. What is possible with deep learning? As you can see in this picture, it's possible to count how many petals are in this flower, what is the shape of the flower, and what is the color of the flower. It is also possible to count how many pizza slices are there. It is even possible to generate very beautiful drawings. Let's see now what is deep learning and what is artificial intelligence, and what does connect these two terms. So with shallow learning, the meaning is that we have very few layers, but with the deep learning we have very many layers. We also have large data sets, and we try to achieve human intelligence as much as possible. But what are your thoughts? Have we reached artificial intelligence yet or not? Let's see why is it mainstream only now? Is it because we have large labeled data sets, but also because we have the computational power that we would need to work with these large data sets? Thank you very much.